Yeah, what I've been doing is I've been looking at the Ethiopian Bible lately. These are all the books that aren't in there, like the Wisdom of Solomon, the books 1 and 2 of Esdras. The Ethiopian Bible has way more books than the 66 that the Holy Bible has. I believe it has like 81. So there's like 15 scriptures, which I'm going to break down with astrology. Not the whole thing. I'm just going to do the first 2 books because they're not that long. It's the first and second book of Esdras. So
we nailed it again. Yeah, we've been talking about it for years, and I know many of you have taken advantage of the opportunity, and many of you still are. Gold, silver, smoking hot. So check this out. Here's some statistics on gold. It's gone up more than 81% in the last 5 years, almost 20% in the last 12 months. And it's happening. Central banks are ditching the US dollar, and US treasuries are buying more gold. What is the good news? Well, there's plenty of good news, especially for those of you that call Noble Gold investments, because it's still predicted to go up a lot more. Now, there's never any guarantees, so follow what the money funders are doing, and they're still buying gold at a record pace. The UBS even said it would go up to $5,000. Noble Gold, their phone is ringing off the hook. Good news is there's somebody there that will help you from start until the completion of your purchase. And if you qualify, if you start a new account with Noble Gold Investments, they will gift you a standard gold 1/4 ounce coin to add to your collection. That's a nice addition to anybody's collection. Give them a call, 1-877-646-5347. Go to leakprojectgold.com. You can also go to noblegoldinvestments.com. They're giving free ebooks for Leak Project listeners. They have great pricing on gold and silver also. I have a lot of friends that have been purchasing silver from Noble Gold Investments from like pre-60 dimes, silver dimes and quarters, which are about 90% silver. They've been stacking their banks that way. There's a ton of great opportunities right now, and there's a lot of upside, folks. There's a ton of upside. So give them a call, click the links, just go to leakprojectgold.com and or noblegoldinvestments.com. Give them a call, 877-646-5347. You will thank me later. And let's get back to this presentation right now. Hey, everybody. Look who it is. The man, the myth, the legend, Micah Dank. It's been way too long. Into the rabbit hole, like beyond, into the fourth dimension, into the rabbit hole. It's great to see you. How the heck are you?
I'm good. It's been too long.
Dude, too long, like way too long. So,
yeah,
folks, we're going to do this on a regular basis again. Even though Micah is far from regular, he needs to be a regular guest here at Leak Project. And so today we're going to talk about this lost Bible, or this lost book of the Ethiopian Bible. And Micah has like a PowerPoint presentation. So let's get into this, man. And also, how's the series going? What episode are you on now? Like 8?
Oh God. I've got a couple things going on. I've got 2 different people that make documentaries / movies.
Cool.
2 completely different people that are interested, but it's like a while out because it's they have to whatchamacallit, they have to build something up first, and then they're going to do it. It's just going to take a little while, but I'm going to be writing my 9th book in this series, which I'll probably close it out. I took like 2 years off from writing, or like a year and a half off from writing, because I wanted to see what happens in the world so that I can incorporate it into the stories like I've always been doing. So I wanted to give it a little while for stuff to build up, which it has. And so I have a really good idea to close the series out. I've actually written the last chapter of the book already, which I've never done before. Usually I write them in order, but I've written the last one. So yeah, that's basically what it is. And I love your background too.
Thanks. Yeah, I made it myself. No, it's these are ancient scriptures. Actually, I think these are Dead Sea Scrolls or Gnostic texts. but I thought it would incorporate well into what we were going to discuss today. And what you're talking about your series, it's like, it's cool, but also sad a little bit at the same time because it's such a great series. I don't want to see it.
To be honest with you, I always leave a little loophole at the end. Yeah, what I've been doing is I've been looking at the Ethiopian Bible lately. These are all the books that aren't in there, like the Wisdom of Solomon, the books 1 and 2 of Esdras. The Ethiopian Bible has way more books than the 66 that the Holy Bible has. I believe it has like 81. So there's like 15 scriptures, which I'm going to break down with astrology. Not the whole thing. I'm just going to do the first 2 books because they're not that long. It's the first and second book of Esdras. So a little information about Ethiopia for you guys who don't know. Number 1, their new year is 9/11. Their new year is 9/11. They have this Ethiopian Bible that, like Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is actually in the Ethiopian Bible. It hasn't been removed. And there's all these additional books too. Now, with my work, I've been trying to figure out if they're all encoded the same exact way with astrology, then why are people making such a big deal out of which book was left out, which book wasn't? Ethiopia is interesting too because they don't follow our normal calendar. They don't. They have 12 months of 30 days and 1 month of 5 days, which, to be perfectly honest, is a little closer to the celestial calendar than what we have here now. A perfect celestial calendar would be 13 months of 28 days, and the last remaining day would be New Year's. That would be the appropriate thing, because then not only would it make us in line with the moon, but the first of every month would be a Sunday. And the calendar would be like, you ever wonder why we have New Year's Eve in the middle of winter? Like, how does that make sense agriculturally? How does that make sense anyway, actually? How does it make sense that the new year is in the middle of winter? They're taking you off the calendar. The year actually begins in Aries. More specifically, the year actually begins during the Passover, because the sun is going to cross over the southern hemisphere into the northern hemisphere, and it's going to continue to rise, and then immediately after it crosses over, there's a temperature change. And that's when the new year should have been. But the Ethiopians celebrated on 9/11, which is Virgo. And to be honest with you, the new year being celebrated in Virgo, that goes back to the Egyptians. Whereas we celebrate the new year in Aries, right? Because it's the spring, everything's coming back to life, right? Well, the new year in the Ethiopian is in Virgo. And the reason behind that is because the Egyptians knew this, and they built it into their stories. The Egyptians knew that the year ended in Leo. And then what would happen is a brand new sun will be born again, come back to life in Virgo. It will be born to a virgin during the harvest festival. And that's when the Egyptians used to do that. And the Ethiopians continued that too, by the way. All of this is not found in the texts. You have to really dig down and get into the Astro-Theology of it. But I just wanted to give a little bit of background of Ethiopia. The other thing that's interesting about Ethiopia is I contend that, like, I write stories, right? I write stories, but I build truth into it, right? And it's very thinly veiled against our political system and what everything is going right now, right? So I build these stories like this, but I'm using literal places. Like, they're at the Statue of Liberty, or they're here. These are literal places. It's the same thing with these books. The locations are real. Of course, you can't deny the locations are real. That doesn't make everything else in it real. Do you know what I mean? The Ethiopian, in Ethiopia, there is a church that supposedly holds the Ark of the Covenant. Supposedly. That's where it's supposed to be. And it's an unassuming church. There's just like a fence or something in front of it. And there's like a dude sitting on a chair with a book outside of it guarding it, right? What you don't know is that people have throughout time, and you can literally go into Google, guys, or whatever search engine you want to use. I use Brave. Go into that and find the history of this place, because you'll find stories, you'll find news articles where they talk about how this church keeps trying to be getting raided, right? People keep trying to raid it and get the Ark of the Covenant and to see this. What they don't know is that when they come up to this one guy and they hold him up, what they don't know is behind the building, there are a ton of people armed. And what happens is these people always try and break in, and then the people come out and they slaughter them. And you get these stories in the news, and then people just dismiss it because they have no idea what they're looking at. But what basically happens is every time someone has tried to break in to verify this, they got massacred every time. And that's basically what's being protected there. So supposedly, or allegedly, is what's being supposed, but it's really being protected. So it's interesting too, because in which Indiana Jones was it, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they start off looking for it in Tibet?
That's a great question. That movie's about 40 years old. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it because it's a classic.
Yeah.
And there's
Why do you think they're looking at Tibet first? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why would they go to Tibet first to find the Ark of the Covenant? You know, and my mentor Jordan Maxwell used to say that Steven Spielberg is many things, but stupid isn't one of them. You know, because they knew how to do that. So just some information to just throw out there. I can share my screen, and we can. I think if you gave me permission already.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, you did. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen, and hold on one second. I gotta open this up. I'm gonna go through the first two books of the Ethiopian Bible. It's called the Book of Esdras, Esdras. And what I'm going to do is share. You're going to let me know when you can see this.
Stand by. Astro-Theology in Book 1 of Esdras.
You can see it because I can't see it.
Click.
I mean, I'm watching our stream right now. I can't see it.
Click
that's
to
two.
add subtitles.
No, that's...
You've got the whole screen, not just the presentation. You've got like the slides on the left. You've got the top.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so you see Astro-Theology in the Book 1 of Esdras?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So what I usually do when I talk about the 12 signs, and I've had so many people from your channel message me privately, and they're like, I see you do the 12 signs before you do every decoding, and I pretty much know it by heart. And I'm like, yes, this is the key. This is what you need. Like, this is why I do it at first. Usually I start off in Aquarius because it's kind of the beginning of our year, but let's start it off where it's supposed to be, in Aries. Okay? So Aries is the ram. And in Aries, you have March 21st, which is the spring equinox. It's the 12-hour day. It's a 12-hour night. There's also 3 different kinds of Passovers that occur. The first, the oldest, and the most prevalent is when the sun is going to pass over the equator on March 21st and make its way back to its height in the summer solstice. It's going to cross over and become, things are going to get warm again. Life is going to come out, food, trees, everything is going to come out. The second Passover is the Jewish Passover, which is when the angel of death is going to pass over all the ancient Egyptian houses, right? And anyone that doesn't have the lamb's blood smeared on their doorposts. And again, a lamb is a baby ram. So what they're doing with this, especially in the Bible, is when they're told to smear the lamb's blood on their doorpost, what they're doing is the Jews are identifying themselves as people of the age of Aries, because the Jews are from the age of Aries. You know, it's a ram. That's why they blow the ram's horn at the holiday. It all ties in together. The third Passover is in Christianity, where the passing over of the sun becomes the resurrection of God's son. Now, I've had people, I know all the arguments that religious people come at me with. I know all of them. They're going to tell me that Jesus wasn't resurrected during Passover, or maybe he was. They're going to tell me that he wasn't born December 25th. They're going to tell me that he was born during the Feast of the Tabernacles. They're going to tell me that he was born during Passover. I know all these things, but what I'm trying to explain is the history and the story behind it. So the key words behind this would be ram, lamb, shepherd, or ram's horn. That's for Aries. Then Taurus is the bull. And when you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season where it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seeds so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow being the female bull, that's Taurus. Then Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. This is another Greek story, just like Aquarius, which I'll get to. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, that refers to Gemini. Cancer is the crab, and it's the sideways moving creature. So just as the sun rises a degree on its axis starting on December 25th, it stops rising a degree on its axis on June 21st. Then for 3 days, it's going to rise to the same degree, hence moving sideways, just like the crab. It's a metaphor. Then on June 25th, it lowers a degree, and then the 26th is going to lower a degree, and it's going to keep doing that until December 21st, which we'll get to. The crab in the ancient Egyptian times was known as the scarab. So when you're talking about crabs or beetle, you could talk about Cancer. Now, Leo is the king. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So whenever you hear lion, lioness, or cub, that's talking about Leo. Then here's Virgo. This is the Ethiopian New Year time right here. Virgo is the woman holding the wheat stalk. So remember before when we said that you plant in Taurus, well, the virgins would go out to cultivate the wheat in Virgo back in the day in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear virgin, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, these are all things that in the Northern Hemisphere, when these books and scriptures were written, these are all in the Northern Hemisphere. These are all collected during Virgo. You can feel free to look that up too. Now, Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. The reason it's the just one is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. See, in Aries, it's going up. So it's being heralded because it's going home to the glory. It's going to its height in the summer, on the summer solstice. And then after Cancer is Leo, where the sun is home. It's the hottest part of the year. That's when it's good. But here, it's being sentenced. Basically, we're being sentenced to winter. So the sun is being judged, and the sun goes under the equator now, and then it's going to make its way to the lower half under the equator. So people in the south can get the summer, but now we're getting winter. Libra is also wine season, which is when you plant for the grapes in Taurus. You could press the wine here. Libra is also olive oil season. That's when you press the olives to make the oil, secret oil, the sacred oil. So all law-related things like law, judge, justice, the just one, divorce, marriage, court, judgment is a big one that comes out there, that he will have judgment. Well, that's Libra, the judge. Wine vineyard, wine press, olive oil or olive oil, that's Libra. All law-related things, all wine-related things, all olive-related things. Okay? This is all an ancient farmer's almanac, is what these signs tell you. This is the way. Now, Scorpio is the scorpion, and he is the betrayer. When a scorpion bites you or stings you, it's going to leave an imprint in your skin that looks like a pair of lips. And it's where the mafia gets the kiss of death from. They steal it from there. And it's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. So the sun is judged in Libra, then it's betrayed in Scorpio. Finally, in Sagittarius, this is where the bow and the arrow shoot the sun and inflict further punishment on the sun. This is where the sun dies. Why? Because on December 21st, that's the winter solstice. The sun is at its lowest point. It cannot rise any lower. December 21st for us is the summer solstice in the south. The sun is at its lowest point. It cannot rise any lower. It's dead. It's the dead of winter. It remains at that lowest level for 3 days, which is why Jesus was dead, or the Son of God dies. And then he was dead for 3 days, when on December 25th, of the birth of God's Son, it rises another degree and starts to make its way back up the top. So whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, spear, or horseman, that's Sagittarius. And Capricorn is the goat, because the goats climb the mountain. Have you ever seen a mountain goat climb the mountain on like a 2-inch ledge? It's absolutely wild. But the sun does the same thing, because if you look at the zodiac wheel on the right, Capricorn's all the way at the bottom. So the sun is going to start going to the left a degree a day, making its way up the mountain. It starts the climb in Capricorn. That's why Capricorn's the goat. And then let's just go back to this. We have Aquarius. This is the first sign I talk about, which I obviously didn't this time, which is represented by the man with the water pitcher. The story of Aquarius is the story of Zeus and the young boy, which I've talked about many times on this channel. The key words for Aquarius are son of man and man, because Aquarius is the man, whereas Virgo is the woman. Baptism, because look at the picture on the right. This is how you baptize someone. A baptism is nothing but an astrological telling of Aquarius. It's as above, so below. That's what a baptism is. So son of man, man, baptism, water pitcher, because there's a water pitcher in this picture. Fountain, because all the Greek fountains were built like this. Stream, river, pond, lake, ocean, sea. Aquarius starts talking about the water. Now, Aquarius is an air sign in astrology, but because there's water in this picture, they use it to encode water. And then finally, the last sign of the year is Pisces, which is the sign of the two fish in the water. It's actually a mutable water sign. Aquarius water or Pisces water depends on the patterns it's going to make in the heaven, because it's going to show you very distinct patterns. So it gives you 2 options for water. So those are the 12 signs. And I haven't done this in a while, Rex, so what do you think?
I think you're doing great, and I'm glad that you're doing an update on this, because I think that there are keys that can be used in so many different texts that once you learn it, it's hard not to read them the same.
Exactly.
But
right.
That doesn't take away from people's, like, you know what? The very interesting thing is, I've been doing a lot of research into Jesus, and he was real. He was very real, but far different than what most interpretations are. There are various not scriptures, but there's various literature of people at the time of Jesus that talks about him. He was actually a warrior that was trying to get enough people to go against the Roman Empire to make them basically crumble. So when there's that one passage about him coming with a sword, that's actually quite true.
Oh, wow. Where do you get that information that he was actually real?
This information is
possible that he was like how in movies they say based on a true story. You know what I mean? But they take artistic, whatever you call it, license, I guess. Artistic license in the story.
Right.
It is possible that he was real or he's based on someone.
Oh, he was definitely no, he was definitely real. No, he absolutely was. So Dr. Kevin Hogan is the gentleman that I've been doing these podcasts with on the subject, and we've probably done 10 plus hours worth of podcasts and so many different data points that show he was absolutely real. And there's a lot of information about him that, you know, he was raised as a Christ figure, but so was Julius Caesar and others. It wasn't just him at the time, but he really wanted to bring down the Roman Empire, and obviously that didn't quite happen. I think he got about 4,000 people behind him. And
the Roman Empire still exists.
You don't say. That's a whole other podcast, folks. That's a whole other podcast.
You know what I like telling people?
What's that?
You remember when you were in school and you had to write papers on your, well, we're a little older, so the computers weren't really around, but what is the default typesetting for all people that you have to use? Do you remember?
I don't think I understand what you're saying.
Okay, you know how there's different fonts, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What is the default one that you have to write all your papers and everything has to be done with, and emails and everything?
English? I don't know. What? HTML? What? I don't know.
Times New Roman?
Times New Roman. Oh, Times New Roman. Yeah, that is.
Or the new Roman Times.
The new Roman times. You know, that statue of George Washington that resembles Baphomet pretty close. Little differences there, but he looks like a Roman emperor.
Right.
100%. Absolutely looks like a Roman emperor. I'm like, whoa. Pretty powerful.
It's interesting too because they rule out of Greenland.
Greenland?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard that. You remember a couple of years ago when Trump tried to buy Greenland and everyone made fun of him?
Yeah.
He knew what he was talking about. There's a whole history of Greenland. In the same way that the Nazis escaped to Argentina, the Romans escaped to Greenland. And I mean, they're running it from you have the Vatican, right? So that's spirituality. You have there's 3 city states that are what do you call it? Autonomous, basically. You have Vatican City, which is spirituality. You have the City of London, which is finance, and you have Washington D.C., which is the military. And it's all put together in a specific way, and it's run out of Greenland, which is why they did that. Do a dive into that. That's pretty interesting.
Now, that's one hell of a conspiracy right there. I will. Absolutely. Well, everybody's looking in Antarctica, Greenland. Okay. Sidetrack. That's a future podcast for sure.
Right. Okay.
That's
so you
cool.
want me to?
Yeah.
You want me to? Yeah, it is. Do you want me to start? That's why people were like, Trump knew. Trump had an idea. That's why he tried to buy it, and then everyone made fun of him.
I mean, even if that's not true, the amount of resources in Greenland, amazing, absolutely amazing. So tons of resources out there, and they're opening it up to certain mining operations because the climate change. Whoa, you fart too much.
The thing about Greenland and Iceland, it's interesting because Iceland is actually green and Greenland is actually ice.
Yeah.
So there's something about ice, something about Antarctica, something about Greenland. There's something about ice and lots of snow that just attracts these people. Maybe they're hiding cyborgs. I don't know. That's for a different day. But
cyborg porno in Greenland. They love it. Oh man, don't even get me started. Folks, make me stop. I'm hitting the mute button.
All right, so I'm going to start breaking these down. They're not very long, and then we'll just bullshit about some stuff. Here we go. All right, so 1 estrus. Now, if you guys look, you'll see that I put the, it's 1 estrus, and then at the bottom you see 1, 7, 19, 31. These are the lines in the scripture. So I put that in there so you guys can basically find it yourself. So, and Josiah held the feast of the Passover in Jerusalem unto his Lord. And unto the people that was found there, Josiah gave 30,000 lambs and kids and 3,000 calves. So the children of Israel, which were present, held the Passover at that time and the feast of sweet bread 7 days. They got him up. Oh, what did I write? They got him up upon his second chariot. So
that's a direct translation.
That's a direct translation. So the Passover takes place in Aries. The lambs are Aries, the kids are goats, which are Capricorn, and the calves are Taurus. Isn't it crazy how throughout these books they talk about the lambs, that's Aries, the goat, that's Capricorn, and the bull, that's the calves.
It really is. Now, are those in that fashion that you show, like the cardinal points on the Zodiac? If we were to look at that, with
on this, no, those are the 4. It's not the cardinal points; it's the fixed points.
Okay.
That's the fixed points is Aquarius the man, Taurus the bull, so that's 2. So Taurus is part of it. The third one is Leo the lion, and the fourth one is Scorpio, but it's not a scorpion. When they talk about it in the holy text, they mention it an eagle. That's so the scorpion is the belly crawling creature. It's the lowest form of life on earth. Because it crawls on its belly. And the first thing, for example, in the Garden of Eden, deception, was God took away the snake's legs. So crawling on your belly is kind of like a punishment. They do this in Mexico too during Santo de la Muerte. They get on their hands and knees in a suit, the men do, and they crawl to church. It's a humbling thing. It's a thing. But in astrology, the scorpion, the belly crawling creature, the lowest form of life on Earth, it evolves and it's called the ascendant, and it becomes the eagle, and the eagle is the highest flying form of life on Earth. Right? So if we're looking at this too, from everything that I read you Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. So these 4 passages literally explain the calves are Taurus, the bread is Virgo, and the chariot is Origo, which is in Gemini. And you have Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. These are 3 signs in a row. So that opens it.
Now, the question is why?
Because this is how you honor God, is through his creation. Everybody's always looked to the heavens since the beginning of time. We can't do that now because we have industrial pollution. We don't have that. So if you're in like LA or New York or any of these kind of big major cities, you're going to have smog. You're not going to be able to see all the stars. But back in the day, they could. And what you do is, this is the heavens declare the glory of God, basically. And what these books are their poetry books for them. That's what it is. And not only is it poetry books that help you understand the just the 12 signs. It's basically, it helps you understand the farmer's almanac, like when to plant, when to harvest, when to do this, what is happening here. Besides that, when they include this in there, it's just poetry of the heavens. So not only does it tell you, when to do all this stuff, but when they encode it, they actually place, if this star is in this, if this star is in this sign, and then this sign, and then it's in the cross sign, and then it's the next sign, they form very specific patterns. I did the Book of Matthew with you a long time ago. I should probably do it again, but that's probably the best breakdown I've ever had. You can literally find these keywords, and then you can just literally go like this to the Zodiac wheel, and you'll see the story unfold.
Fascinating.
So, 1 Esdras 2, with gifts, with horses, and with cattle and other things. The horse is Sagittarius, and the cattle is Taurus. Esdras 3, 10 began the first, who had spoken of the strength of wine. The wine is Libra. That's when you crush the grapes. 1 Esdras 4. Yeah, a man taketh his sword and goeth to rob and to steal, to sail upon the sea and upon rivers, and looketh upon a lion. Neither in her judgment is any unrighteousness, and she is strength. She is the strength. So the wine is Libra. Sailing on a ship, which is the constellation Argo, which goes from Cancer to Scorpio. The lion is Leo. The judgment is Libra. You can see here, these are 5 signs in a row. So they show you what sign. This teaches you which sign is in which constellation, or which is. And what I did, Rex, was I went to Ptolemy's list in 150 AD. Okay, because that's roughly around the same period of time that some of these stories were written. Sure, they're earlier, that's fine. But Ptolemy came out a list of 48 constellations in 150 AD. That's what I use. We know there's 88 now, but I only use the original 48, and I don't even use them all. I've looked for these words, So let me continue. If I can. Here we go. 1 Esdras 5. Wives and sons and daughters, men servants and maid servants and their cattle. And Darius sent them 1,000 horsemen, 435 camels, 7,036 5,520 and 5 beasts used to the yoke. So, cattle is Taurus, the horse is Gemini. I'm sorry, the cattle is Taurus, the horse is Sagittarius, the camel is Camelopardalis, which is in Gemini. Gemini and Taurus are connecting signs. Gemini and Sagittarius are opposing signs. The mule is the donkey, which is a Celis Borealis. The mule is the donkey mix, which is a Celis Borealis, which is in Cancer. So you have Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. These are 3 signs in a row. And what you're basically looking at here I'll give you an example. For example, when they talk about horses and chariots, right? The chariot is a constellation called Auriga, which is in Gemini. The horse is Sagittarius, the man on the horse, of course. These signs are opposing signs. So not only when they're always talking about horses and chariots, these are actually two different constellations that are opposing each other in the sky. One Esdras 6. And out of the tribute of Seleucia and Phineas, a portion carefully to be given these men for sacrifices of Jah, that is, to Zorobabel, the governor, for bullocks and rams and lambs, and also corn, salt, wine, and oil. The rams and the lambs are Aries, corn is Virgo, the wine and oil is Libra. Aries and Libra are opposing signs.
Why is corn Virgo again?
What?
Why is corn Virgo again?
Virgo is the harvest. You harvest the wheat, the grain, the barley, the seed, the corn, all this stuff. That's when it's all harvested. And you got to remember, we're in the Northern Hemisphere with these texts. These texts weren't written in Australia. These texts were written in the Northern Hemisphere. So not only that, but they also receive different seasons. So this book also, this stuff also teaches you to protect yourself during the seasons, during the winter, for example. You know, that's why in the Bible they were always so afraid of the harvest, the winter harvest. The whatchamacallit? You know how like they have dream interpretations for the harvest, the story of Joseph in the Bible. It's all the same stuff. That's what they basically did. Well, this is when you harvest. This is when you harvest these specific things. So 1 Esdras 7 says, and to the dedication of the temple of Jah, they offered 100 bullocks, 200 rams, and 400 lambs, and 12 goats for the sins of all Israel. Isn't it crazy that they're only offering these signs? They're only offering these specific animals all the time. The rams and the lambs are Aries. The bullock is a young bull or Taurus. Aries and Taurus are connecting signs, and the goat is Capricorn. It's always the same animals.
Now, would that be, what's the significance of that? Showing dominance?
Just the fact that they're using those specific animals shows you they're talking about the constellations. Because remember, Rex, we've been going through ancient holy texts, not just the Book of Esdras, but we did an episode on 6,000 years of this. I traced this all the way to the Sumerian literature.
Absolutely.
They were all encoded the same exact way. And based on my knowledge, I could tell you what I think it means, but this is the same kind of setup for every single ancient holy text. Every single one. I've done 68 of them now, including the entire Bible, all the Gnostic texts, a couple Sumerian tablets, Babylonians, Egyptian, Jewish, Christian, Muslim. They're all the same. They're all broken down the same way. So, that whosoever as just the priest and the reader of the law of the Most High God, to the sum of 100 talents of silver, likewise, also of wheat, ever to 100 cores, and 100 pieces of wine, and other things in abundance. And from the rivers Theras we departed the 12th day of the first month. Even 12 bullocks for all Israel, 16 rams, 12 lambs and goats. It's the same animals. And they all happen to be constellations. Mostly, they happen to be zodiac signs. It's just interesting, right?
Well, so yeah, but I just wonder, like, why they aren't sacrificing scorpions and other animals connected to the zodiac. Like, why those specific?
Well, it's as above, so below, right? These are the animals to sacrifice.
These are the animals play out because of the way things play out in the heavens, essentially.
Well, because they would that too, and the fact that you can't feed a bunch of people with a scorpion. You know what I mean? They sacrificed them, and then they would eat them. They would cook them. It's just basically telling you how to stay alive. So, to the sum of 100 talents of silver, likewise, also of wheat, even to 100 cores and 100 pieces of wine, right? So the law is Libra, the wheat is Virgo. These are connecting signs. The wine is Libra, the river is Pisces, the water. Pisces and Virgo are opposing signs. The bullocks are the bulls of Taurus, and the rams are Aries. Aries and Libra are opposing signs. Aries and Taurus are connecting signs. Do you see these connections, Rex? Do you see how they... Let me go back to this real quick. Let me go back to... Wait, hold on. Am I on the last one? Yeah, this is the last one from the first book. So let me just show you something real. Explain it to you. For you guys listening who don't see the significance of this real quick, let me just maximize this. Okay. All right. This is the Zodiac wheel. This is how it's supposed to look. Capricorn's at the bottom, Cancer's at top. Okay, this is how the Zodiac wheel is supposed to look. If you look at, let's say, Aries all the way on the left, that's the ram. When they talk about Jesus feeding the masses with 2 fish, well, the 2 fish are Pisces. Whenever you sacrifice a lamb or a ram, that's Aries. You know, a bull is Taurus. So when you're looking at Pisces, Aries, and Taurus, these are 3 signs in a row. Aries connecting signs. When I say connecting signs, I mean Taurus and Pisces. That's what's on either side of them. Opposing sign, Aries opposing sign, is Libra, which is law, wine, and olives. Right? So you see that happening all the time. I want to open the other one. If you want to take a minute, just go over some stuff. I wish I could just show people how it's such a complicated topic, Rex, because there's a couple of astrotheologists out there. There's not a lot, but it's a complicated topic, and it's really hard to just basically break it down in such a simple way so people can begin to see it and look into it deeper for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're unlocking. See, a lot of people are like, well, that's fascinating. I wonder what it means. And I think you just explained it great when, I was asked the question, why weren't they getting 50,000 scorpions and turning them into kebabs? And they're like, here's a scorpion for you, a scorpion for you. Try this one. It's deep fried.
Right.
That, like it doesn't take nearly as many goats, doesn't take nearly as many lambs. So now, when they started writing these, do you think they were writing them out as like a farmer's almanac, and through time and through cataclysms and through customs and cultures and dogma?
It's star poetry that teaches the farmer's almanac. It's poetry.
But there's more to
Rex,
it.
Rex, if I gave you a list of keywords, right? If I gave you a list of words and I said, write a story using all of them, and you did that, that's what they did. That's what this did. This explains the heavens. This helps you, teaches you to understand what's a connecting sign, what's an opposing sign, what goes where. This is what it's all about. And it makes a lot more sense to a lot of people than the literal translation.
Now, what's interesting, though, is it seems like some of these scriptures and texts, not only do they describe the astrotheological aspect, but there's a multitude of other layers of information embedded in also. And not just the as above, so below, but like also certain events, political events, spiritual aspects, metaphysics. So there's many different layers.
Of course there is. But think about
this,
Rex. I took something that's very, very complicated and I dumbed it down as much as I possibly could. You cannot explain this any easier than what I'm doing. I know I've looked. There's a lot of good astrotheologists out there, but it's not as easy to understand as this. Right? So I've dumbed this down. And here's the thing. If I can show people that there is an encoding in the Bible, if I can show them that, I don't need to tell you how many sacred sciences are in the Bible. I don't need to tell you all of this stuff. I don't need to tell you any of this stuff. What I need to do is present information that shows you one way, right? Shows you one way. And if your mind is open to that, your mind will be open to the rest. This is just basically, this is a gateway drug is what it is, basically.
But it's not a drug for you algorithms out there. We're just reading scriptures, okay? But it is a mind-altering substance in a sense, so but no substance needed except for reading and decoding and even listening, because you don't even have to read. You can just listen to Micah decode. This is really cool, man. One of the most fascinating podcasts that I can think of that really changed my perception on many of the scriptures is when I started to learn about the Astro-Theology. And if you go back and listen to the first podcast we did, I actually bring up in the podcast, I'm like, well, are you concerned that there might be religious zealots or people, fanatics, or people that have a lot of control and power by using specific dogmatic practices? Essentially is what I said, not in that many words, but I was like, are you?
Well, let's put it to you this way. Do you know the story of Columbus when he came to America? What happened with the eclipse?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. God is telling you that if you don't give me what I want, you will see the sun dark tomorrow. Bow before me. That's kind of like the.
So that's not the exact way that I would have explained it, but you did it a lot better. A lot shorter, a lot quicker. That's exactly what happened.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This was a reenactment, and everything is just a coincidence. All right. So, yeah. Part one, awesome. I totally see that. Great job on that. This is Ethiopian text that we're reading right now, folks.
These are Ethiopian texts. I'm showing you. It's this.
Yeah.
So let me share that.
And I think we're on limited bandwidth.
Because then we can get into the wisdom of eventually.
Ooh, yes, yes. The lesser keys of Solomon. We're having some bandwidth opportunities here. Anything that has Solomon in it, I'm all about reading. There's very powerful knowledge. Solomon's wisdom, yes.
Okay, so this is 2 Estras. Wisdom of Solomon.
This is fascinating. It's really hard to read the Bible the same after you learn about Astro-Theology with Micah Dank. And you want to listen to this in full, so go over to our Patreon page. You can be a Patreon for like $1, and it's the thought that counts. Your contribution greatly helps Leak Project. We really appreciate your support. We will continue to pump out the content, and let's have some fun over on Patreon.